Chapter -23.32, The Time Game, by Frank. As everyone was clapping and shouting and making a huge noise to thank Blizzard for the lesson, he called, "Thank you for coming! See you next time!" While people were leaving, the boy in a wheelchair came over to talk. He was with 3 of his friends who were also in wheelchairs. Each chair had a set of wings, just like Miguel's chair. "I'm Teep," said the boy, extending his hand. We all shook hands and then met his friends, Duster, Mouse and Milo. Mouse seemed very shy and kept her eyes to the ground, but Duster and Milo were loud and fun. "We're part of Mikhail's club," said Duster, a boy of about 8 years old. "Excellent," said Sky. "I didn't know he ran a club." "For people in wheelchairs mostly," said Milo, "to teach us to be brave and strong." "And to not give up," said Teep, beaming. "Great," I said. "Miguel's very kind," said Mouse, peeping up at us briefly. "Always has been," said Blizzard. Teep, Mouse, Milo and Duster looked as if they might pass out to be so close to Blizzard. All of a sudden, Mouse started to quiver. "You're her hero," whispered Teep to Blizzard, who immediately knelt down next to Mouse. "You're my hero," he said gently. "You have so much courage. You've been through some tough times, and Miguel thinks the world of you." Mouse smiled at Blizzard, her little face blushing and beaming all at once. "Never forget how incredibly brave you are," he said to Mouse before standing up. "You're all wonderful," Blizzard added, smiling at all of us. "I love our times in the melting classroom." We all cheered. It seemed the right thing to do. At that moment, Orpheus made his way over to us. "Orpheus," said Blizzard, "meet our crew of wonder makers and Miguel's team of champions." "Miguel speaks very highly of you," said Orpheus, shaking the hand of everyone in Miguel's club. Mouse again looked as if she might like to hide somewhere, but when it was her turn, she beamed at Orpheus. "Take it easy, Mouse," he said. "You know my name," she gasped. "Of course." Mouse blushed even more. Orpheus laughed. "Go well, you team of champions." Teep looked sheepish. "Actually, we do have to go," he said. "Miguel has asked us to meet some new students. He says they have big challenges." "Well done," said Blizzard, bidding them farewell. "What a great bunch," said Orpheus. Then turning back to us, he added, "So you lot are the charmers. I'm impressed. I heard how you put a spell on a giant serpent and also a dragon." Orpheus was staring at Sky. Sky blushed. "I had to rescue one of my lost selves," she said, "so I was ready to do anything." "Still," said Orpheus, "very brave." Minnow smiled. "We put someone called Orpheus into our computer game at home," said Minnow. "I heard," said Orpheus. "Great choice." I felt a bit left out, and I could see that Ben was feeling it too. But then Orpheus turned to both of us and shook our hands. "And you two champions," he said. "It's about time the men of the future recognise that women are brilliant beings and most certainly not inferior to anyone. I'm overjoyed to know that this one grows up to be the captain of the Pirate Queen." Ben grinned, looking suddenly very proud to be standing next to Sky. "And this one," said Orpheus, nodding at Minnow, "who could find a better friend?" I laughed. "No one," I said. "It was Minnow's idea to create the Time Again game, and that was the game that led us to realise that there was something going on, or we wouldn't have been able to save Sky from the time virus." Orpheus nodded. "Speak it, my son," he said. "Speak it." I smiled. "You have a brilliant cousin," he said, "with a most wonderful heart." Turning to Minnow, Orpheus added, "That lying Isla thief, you must never worry that your heart will become diseased like hers. I happen to know that your heart is going to guide you to the most amazing places in the universe." Minnow beamed. "I'd say it already has," she said. "Look where we are." Orpheus laughed, and then looking at me, he asked, "Are you ready to visit the Time Garden, the home of the real time game?" "Can we?" I asked, giving Minnow a high five. "All of us?" asked Minnow. "Of course," said Orpheus. Minnow looked as if she was about to burst. "You look so much like the character we drew in our game." Orpheus grinned. "Somehow the universe aligned our lives," he said. "We don't know how, but probably from the decades of magic and goodness wished upon us by our wonderful ancestors." Minnow beamed. "I know that now that my parents have been coming to Marescimar for a long time, and they told me that their mothers and fathers came here too, so I think you're right." Blizzard smiled. "Of course he's right. He's Orpheus." Minnow laughed as Blizzard picked her up. Even though she was 11 years old, Minnow was still quite tiny. "Come on," he said. "Let's go." "Us too?" asked Solo and Escher, running into the room. "Yep," said Blizzard. I felt myself almost floating to the ceiling with excitement. I had no idea where the Time Garden was, but I felt that I was destined to go there, and maybe I'd been born for that very purpose. It was the strangest feeling. When we left the melting classroom, Blizzard and Orpheus led us back to the Marescimar Tower. When we were about halfway up the tower, Blizzard led us towards a group of tree houses that were nestled into the branches of the tree that coils its way around the tower. In behind one of the tree houses was a platform, and tethered to that was a flying machine. It reminded me of Ezekiel's chariot, except it had sails and a tall mast which flew a pirate's flag. "What's this ship called?" asked Sky. "The Time Fairy," said Blizzard, gesturing to the ship's rigging. As we looked up, 7 huge sails were billowing in the breeze, and in the rigging and all along the ropes sat thousands upon thousands of tiny time fairies. Minnow and Sky squealed with excitement as the entire crew burst into applause. "Time fairies," said Sky. "The best."